flowing. Sorry.
Wanting to start again.
It's just a test. It's just like starting. All right. So
welcome to insert episode number here.
Yeah.
This is our backup, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're seeing this, we must have had a rough week. We couldn't get one out. Or it's the holiday season. We're with our family, drinking some hot cocoa.
Got lazy and knew we had a backup and wanted to use it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
honestly, I feel like that's like the
that's
most
how
likely scenario.
That's how we stay consistent.
We just like
right
don't
here.
address like when we're doing it until the day of 5 p.m. It's like, load that up.
No.
All right. So I've had like a strange obsession with this. I'll just say like topic for like 3 weeks now, and I've wanted to talk about it on the pod, but the first time I just like didn't really want to. I didn't feel like I was prepared enough to like really solidify it in people's heads. I didn't think I was educated enough. The second time we had Mr. Logan on from ℕ𝕠𝕣𝕥𝕙 Sports Racing. ℕ𝕠𝕠𝕥 Sports Racing, right? Yes. And that was a great. So we could not disrupt the flow on that one. And then this last one, we had such a great story that I didn't want to like disrupt the flow on that either. But finally, we're still here. We just did that third one a few minutes ago. We had
episode 80.
We had our little
Episode
break. We watched a little bit of regular show, and now we're back at it. So, are you guys want to learn something today?
I'm ready to be educated.
Make sure you
Alright.
preface this because I don't know like what you're talking about at all.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've heard about it before, but I've never gone into it in much detail. But I remember thinking that is so rad, right? And I guess, man, I wish I should have come up with some cool intro, but I don't really have it. When we think of like third world countries and stuff like that, we definitely think like they know of like, you know, I don't want to give like a country out, but like there are definitely tribes out there in the world, right? Like still like pretty tribes that are limited in technology and everything, but they know like what America is, or they know like people that come to their aid and like give them things and like help them out, especially in times of need and all that. But there are
Can you plug it in?
a few, I don't know how many in the world, but I'd definitely at least a few thousand people in the world that have such limited contact with like the rest of us. Is it warm over there?
You gotta angle it. We need to angle it towards the center. That's why this cabin's not warming up.
I don't know that we got to be.
Yeah, make sure my
careful with
phone
how-
doesn't melt down there.
Yeah, but while Devin does that, like, and that's always been like a weird concept to me, but I never thought too much of it until I just came across this one like YouTube video or something that I just saw, or maybe it was a news thing about like the anniversary of something that we'll get into later. That's like the Matrix, Devin.
That was sick, Devin.
No, so in most of these tribes that we could have talked about are in Papua New Guinea area, by like the Indonesia and all those really small islands that just like it's almost impossible to like really go into all these dense forests and everything and blah 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 blah. And so they're just, and some of them are super dangerous, right? But those have all been contacted, and we know a lot about them, and like they speak languages that are really close to like people that are more modern there and everything like that. But there is like one definitive, definitely just one singular tribe that has like the least, as far as we know, the least contact from the outside world ever. And it's still kind of in that area. And this is the one that I like researched, and like I watched so many videos on it, and I like just looked small things up on my own about it. And it's they're called Sentinelese, North Sentinelese, and they're on a small island that is about like, I don't know how to convert 70 kilometers, but it's like 20 square miles ish.
Probably
more than that, 30.
Yeah.
70 square miles. It's not much. It's like smaller than Manhattan.
it's pretty small.
It's smaller than Manhattan, basically.
And their population's probably around like 1,500. Smaller than that.
Way less than that. The tribe lives on this island, and the island is controlled by India. Well, not even controlled. It's monitored by India. They kind of protect it, right? And so, but even though India controls it, it's on like the other edge of the Bay of Bengal, and it's next to the. I wrote this down. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the Andaman Islands. It's just a chain that's really secluded from everything else. But that chain of Andaman Islands is modernized. Like there's like the British came in there and everything ages ago. So there's like ports, and like they have like civilization very securely set up there. But this island is only like 2 to 6 miles or so off the coast of these islands, like these very modern like cities. It's super close. You can almost see it from like the shore of civilization, right?
Wow.
But this tribe called the North Sentinelese on North Sentinel Island has not been, I don't want to say, they've definitely been contacted, but they're the least contacted in the world as far as we know, because in terms of communication, we have no idea how they speak or like, you know, what means what. We don't understand our language at all. And like the craziest thing about them in my head that like got me hooked on it was that they are still as of 2022, they are in the Stone Age. Still. You know, and another thing is like, so in recent years, obviously, like ships have like, and we'll get to it, but like ships have like crashed there. And so they have access now to iron and aluminum. And they just now, like we accelerated their rate of progression by thousands of years by crashing a boat there, because like before it was stone-tipped arrows and things like that. And now in the past like 30 years since like iron, like, you know, irons landed on shore, they started tipping them with iron and everything like that. And like their spears and everything. So we've accelerated their progression so much just by like one boat getting stranded, because the island is surrounded. It's really dangerous. The island is surrounded by a coral reef, and so things get beached there really easily. And there's been a few boats that have gotten beached there, and they've had to fend these guys off with sticks and stones or iron pipes and stuff like that until rescue comes.
I wonder why that is. Like, I wonder why they're so behind. You know?
Oh, well, I'll get to that.
Do they know why? I was going to say, like, I wonder if it's like against their ways.
So,
you know, they don't want to advance.
Evolution would
This
be
is how they did
slowed
it.
when you have smaller numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had probably millions of minds that could come up with these ideas.
As soon as, in terms of the rest of the world, like what we are in our ancestors were involved in, as soon as you establish an economic trade, and as soon as you have like that, there was a trade route from China all the way up to Europe. Like that one singular link that connected the Eastern Old World and the Western Old World, like so much progression happened for both sides, because you kind of like connect the missing links from either one, like gunpowder here and like, man, I don't know what the Western side had. They definitely had things like modern, like scientific ideas,
like silk
and
paper.
Yeah, like like papyrus, like scientific ideas over here, and you know other scientific discoveries here. You put them together, and you get this coagulation of like what makes up the modern world, essentially, like the foundations of it. But if you're secluded from all that,
well, I think
and
even
there's no trade or anything like that.
I think Devin's even asking like farther back, like they haven't made the leap from the Stone Age yet.
Well, the whole idea
I still think we had more bodies.
So the crazy thing about this tribe that I think is, well, the craziest thing that I think about them is they're on the if you're looking on a map, they're on the right side of India, really far from anything else. And these Andaman Islands and the North Sentinel Island, it's a big chain of islands, but small when you look at the whole world. And they're separated from a lot on all sides by the ocean and the Indian Sea and all that, or Indian Ocean. But, and I don't know how, like 60,000 years ago is a super long time. And I wish I would have done a little bit more research on what the rest of the world was at, where they were at 60,000 years ago. But these guys, this group, like, came from Africa. So on the other side of India, came like through India or underneath it, and landed on those islands and just never moved again. So we can't prove definitively how they got there, but there is a point where if they use, because we know they can make canoes. So if they used boats to get there and they stopped there, why did they like stay?
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be because, like you said, like we had more numbers, but there's also a bunch of other tribes and different people were so small, but they just explored and other people explored to them.
Yeah.
It's got to be like against one of their ways to like not go out and explore. Like, nope, we stay on this island, we live here, and we know like we don't really let too much other people come
like
and stuff.
And they Moana community guidelines going.
They decided this thousands upon thousands. Pretty much they were there for 60,000 years. Yeah. So pretty much 60,000 years ago, they decided to not go anywhere because
we want to isolate
the Andaman Islands that are about 6 miles away from them speak an entirely different language, and they look so different, like not and super different. But these guys on the Sentinelese they don't look Asian at all. They don't have like the teeth structure. Obviously, we don't have. Actually, I think we do have skeletal remains because of something else that I could get into. We have 2 definitively that we know of. But like I don't know if like I'm pretty sure like they are shorter than us. Their average height is like 5.5 meters as far as we can tell, or feet.
Dang.
They're huge. My fault.
God.
Feet. And I think that's, again, we can't prove it, but I think that's because of island dwarfism, which I think is also contributing to the fact to why they just haven't developed as much, because the resources on this, it's a dense forest surrounded by a beach, surrounded by coral reef, and for whatever reason that we don't understand yet, or maybe we'll never understand, they just cut everyone out. They are so aggressive to everyone except for one instance in 1991, and we can talk about it. But yeah, but so there's limited resources. So for the past 60,000 years, each generation has gone through just the same thing every day. You go out and hunt, you go gather, and you defend.
Farm, probably.
They don't farm. There's no
Just hunting and gathering.
there's no agriculture. And something crazy about hunting, we know that they've been there for about 60,000 years. Because this is a really cool thing, because turtles are afraid of them. Because sea turtles, or whatever turtles are there, I'm pretty sure they're sea turtles, are like, they are afraid of that island. Like, they steer clear of the island. And now they go to every other coral reef and they do everything else. These exact species will go into these environments with the same exact aquatic species and amphibious species in different areas. Like on the Andaman Islands, they'll go around there. They have the same kind of coral structure and everything. They will not go near North Sentinel Island because they know that they'll get hunted.
That's
you know
crazy.
how long it takes for turtles
A species to
learn
Yeah, location
to
is
be
bad.
afraid of a predator like a human? Especially we never even said this. The population is only, we can't even tell with like satellite imagery or anything. As far as we can predict based off the size of the island compared to what we know about population caps and all of this, it can only be about 50 to 200 people.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, if that island's so small and they like don't even farm, they
Yeah,
only
50 to
hunt
200
gather.
people.
Obviously, the plants will regrow.
You know,
like they can't be consuming that much. It can't be too many
I
of them.
wonder
That-
if they've ever
that
had like
island couldn't
overhunting
provide.
problems. If they do limit,
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
Well,
kill
that's
limits and
where
whatnot.
island dwarfism comes into play. We've seen island dwarfism in other places, not even necessarily with people.
Little personism.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
This one, it's okay to say
it's
it.
a medical.
Yeah, because
Um,
Isaiah's suffering.
When you're on an island specifically and you cannot leave, it doesn't matter if you're human or any other species, and for a long period of time, and assuming your species can survive with what you're given to start, for over a long period of time, if the resources that you require to live are limited, but they are reoccurring, your body, whatever species you are, will just adjust
Right.
to require only that amount
You
that you
consume
can allow
less.
yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's why we believe that these guys are only 5.5 feet on average. And so as long as, and their population after 60,000 years has definitely hit the cap, and it'll fluctuate like
Right.
this based on like the max population. It'll go up and down and up and down. But I don't think, unless the outside world comes in and they aren't so aggressive in the future, which is forbidden. Like, you cannot set foot on this island. Nobody can. They're just going to stay right where they are. And that the low population also definitely contributes.
Is that
along with-
international law, like the UN, or is it Indonesian
It's India.
law?
It's India that says just nope, because they want to protect these guys, the tribesmen, because it's like Native Americans, right? As soon as Europe came over and started interacting and like just being around Native Americans, they had no natural immunities towards the diseases that Europeans had. Because Europeans at that point, like, only the strong had survived, the Black Death and like the, all that stuff. But Native Americans hadn't been exposed to that. Even the common cold ran through them. And so North Sentinel Island is actually far worse than the natives were because they were such a smaller population. Nothing has gotten to them as far as we know. Now, they could have huge immunities to something that runs crazy over there that we could be susceptible to as well. But definitely, we've had an instance it's on the other page. There was
Actually,
an instance
I watched
when
a video. I watched a video about this explaining why we didn't get diseases from the Native Americans.
Yeah, why?
Because they don't have livestock like we did, and that's where pretty much all diseases originate from animals.
It's the insects and the fleas that are on the livestock, and then it jumps to us.
That's the only way it can transfer to humans. So assuming that they aren't farming, we could not get sick from them.
Yeah, especially in like lower wealth areas back in the the old days. They would they would just sleep where they had their livestock. That would be where they lived, and so they jumped to us. But in places where they slept and lived separate from their livestock, it was different. But yeah, so we know for a fact that they are very susceptible because, and this is out of order, but let's see here. In 1880, a British naval officer, which at that time the British Navy was everywhere, and they were in charge of the Andaman Islands, and this guy was in charge of North Sentinel Island, this naval officer. He just kidnapped 6 of them. Just went to the island, kidnapped 6 of them, which is probably why they hate us so much. To be honest, they don't know who we are. They don't speak our language. These guys at the very beginning showed up, took people, dipped with them, and then just came back, dropped 4 back off. The other 2 did not live because as soon as they took them back, they got sick and died. Now, these were elderly. They took 2 elderly people and 4 young children. And they dropped the 4 off that survived, which were all the young children. But they didn't get wiped out. So that's good. But it was definitely a stroke of luck.
Yeah, it could have been. That could have been
awful. That could have been the end of it right then and there.
One of the kids held a disease that killed off all the elderly, and then they couldn't really feed.
Right.
To restart.
Something else wild before I get into kind of the lineage of how we discovered it and people talking about it. As far as we know, they don't even know how to make fire. They use fire and they know of it, but they only use it when it occurs naturally, which is a dense forest, and it actually does happen pretty often in a dense forest, especially you got tropics and you got everything going on down there on those beaches, and it's pretty arid when you get to the outside. It's not like a rainforest; it's just a dense forest. So they know they use it, and I think they use it to burn out canoes when it happens, because they do use canoes every now and then. But as far as we can observe, they've never been able to create fire. They don't even know how.
I wonder if there's ever been situations where their entire island is just burnt down.
There's no way of proving it.
After all that time, they must be pretty resilient, because I don't know if there's hurricanes in that region or.
I was going to get to that. In 2004, there was a huge a tsunami, and then I think it might have been a typhoon that came in and tsunami or whatever. It was just a horrible situation. The Andaman Islands did terribly. They did not fare well at all. India did terribly. Everything around them was awful. So when they situated, they're like, oh man. Are they alive?
These people are wrecked.
Yeah.
They had, because they live almost entirely naked. They have floral head decoratives, and then they have leaves to cover their groins and everything. But it's pretty much, they've also been documented just run around naked, which I've seen a video of them from 1991 when they had an actual peaceful expedition, just a little bit, just peaceful contact, and they were naked. But and they live in not even huts, stick lean-tos. And that's it. As far as we know, we haven't gone into the jungle or into the forest, but we don't know how deep they go in. They probably stay closer to where they get the food.
Been mining uranium for years.
It's Wakanda. It's Wakanda. But oh man, what was I getting to? Oh yeah, so they sent a single helicopter with a care package in it, and they were just going to drop it off. The helicopter got pretty low to see what's going on, see if they're even alive to drop this care package off. He was met with one singular bowman that was threatening him and shot arrows at the helicopter. So they just left. They're like, yep, they're doing all right. They don't need our help. And so they dipped. So yeah, they definitely they have to be pretty resilient, because they fared better with their sticks and stones and nakedness better than modern civilization did all around them in a tsunami in the middle of an ocean.
Maybe they started it.
The rain dances do something pretty silly. But
I wonder. I do wonder their religion too.
Yeah. So we know that they came. Well, no, I'm not gonna say that for sure. We have seen a few paintings or art from them that kind of resemble old art from the Andaman Islands right next to them. But given their skeletal structure and just how they look and how they act and their language compared to those of the Andaman Islands, they went on a different path almost immediately. So they were probably the same people as when they came over. And then one group went and one group stayed. And we know that some tribes that remain on the Andaman Islands know of the Sentinelese, and they call them a certain name, and they call them that name like with a certain amount of spite. So the best guess right now is that those that stayed on Sentinel Island were just super aggressive, and it's kind of like a Moana thing. We're like, just close it off. We're done. We're gonna literally just kill anyone that comes in contact with us, and that's it. And then the other group left, and after so many years, there's just kind of been like a war kind of thing going on. And they have been accused of being cannibals. In fact, something else that's pretty bonkers that I didn't know until I started researching it. You know Marco Polo, right? Mm-hmm. The famous Italian explorer that went to like China and just went all over the world, known world at the time. He wrote about North Sentinel Island.
Wow.
It's crazy. Now, we don't know if he actually went there himself, because he referred to them as cannibalistic, brutally savage, and also having the head of dogs, or if he just heard that from the locals from the Andamanese Islands, or Andaman Islands. But he could have also just been exaggerating. You know, he could have been there and seen it, or just been exaggerating. We don't know. But he wrote of them, which is kind of wild. And he might have been the first to call them cannibals, unless he heard that from the other Andaman Island tribes. Which obviously they'd just be aggressive towards them. And like when the first, so that was in 1296 was when Marco Polo wrote about them.
Should have dropped Jack Sparrow off of the island.
Yeah.
He'd have been leading the scallywags.
Yeah, and pretty much all the way from like 1290 from 1296 all the way up until, I'm looking at some dates here, from pretty much like 1896, which was when a convict escaped a prison on the civilized Andaman Islands, made it all the way to North Sentinel Island, and then they killed him. Like, that sucks. That sucks. Yeah. It's like, I'll just join you guys. You guys are chill. No. They were believed to be cannibals, but that's just hearsay. And we've had a lot of instances in modern times where like people have died, but we've seen them just bury them in perfectly intact, minus the holes from the arrows and stuff like that. So they're probably not cannibals. But yeah, I guess that covers like the generality of them. What time we got? I might be able to fill if we need it. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, whatever. So that's the generality of them, and I think the craziest thing is the 60,000 years that they spent separated from everybody else. Of course, it would have taken millions of years for them not to be human, but that would have been awesome, right? So like see them like develop something crazy to help them survive.
Reptile people.
Yeah, just like some gills or like some like slimy skin going on. That would have been bonkers. But no, I mean they're the exact same minus the height, and that's just because of just where they are. But they are definitely aggressive. So I actually, all that I remembered, and I was super interested in it, but I could not for life of me remember some dates. So I just wrote these down, and these are like all the way from what I talked about with Marco Polo to like the naval officer kidnapping, all the way up until 2018 was the last contact. Probably not the last contact, because the Indian government has Indian military patrols protecting the island and protecting people from getting there for obvious reasons, both ways. So there've probably been small instances of contact that just aren't worth noting, but these are like the major ones, and most of them involve people dying. But so Marco Polo, you know, in 1296 he wrote about them, and there's definitely been people, maybe not from the Andaman Islands, that have like gone there and just haven't wrote about it, because we've seen boats that no one's documented. Old boats, like wood, right? And we've seen them use like posts and stuff like that in different structures and things that we don't recognize, like the old wooden ones that we just like, we don't know who that is, what that is. So people have been there and probably not escaped to tell the tale, right? I'll say this. Here's one instance that we did document because it's kind of recent. So it goes from 1296 all the way jumping to 1867. So in between that time, definitely people have been there, is what I'm saying. There was an Indian merchant ship that crashed there. It got beached in the coral reef, and the remaining crew that survived the crash, they had to go to shore because their boat basically capsized. They took whatever they could with them because they knew about the tribe there, and they had to fight the tribe off with sticks and stones while the tribe had arrows. So this is I mean, 1867, relatively modern era.
Mm-hmm.
Having used sticks and stones against something that at that time is technologically more advanced than you.
Yeah.
It's kind of ironic. But they did end up surviving when the British naval crew came and picked them up. But they did have to like kind of swim for their lives. I don't know if they used a canoe that they just saw, but there's definitely been instances where people like are just going by and then a really rugged canoe just kind of comes up.
That would be terrifying.
An empty one? What the hell? All right, well. After that was the naval officer and then the escaped convict after that. And then we hit 70 years later pretty much, where the Indian government established their I'm going to say control over it, their protectiveness over it. And they just started to do surveys and they started to just do some research to figure out what the heck is going on with this island, because there were still so many superstitions around it, and there definitely still is with like the locals around there and stuff like that. And so they to put it not so gorily.
Can I read it? Where is it?
Oh, it's not written in there. I said they were met with threatening waves of arrows, but more realistically, they were just kind of slaughtered a little bit from a certain period of time where they would go and be like, oh, they'll get that we're nice. They'll get that we're nice. They'd send a wave. It's like 4 of them come back out of 10. Well, they'll get it now. They'll get it this time. Like if we just keep going, they'll know. It's like, no, it's kind of like from their lines, it definitely, I could see them being like, these are demons, bro. Like, where are they coming from? Yeah. Last time they came here, like the last major time they came here, it was a huge group of people. They looked like you, mostly. These weird, super colorful skin. You know, they don't have clothes, so. White hair. They don't even have much hair at all. And they kidnapped us and left. They took 6 and brought 4 back. So what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I'm kind of surprised that like India protected them and did all of this. Like, I'm gonna be honest. If I was the leader, I'd be in that island.
That's something that
I'd be sending.
I thought about that too. It's like, all right, dude, we've given you your shot.
I mean, that's really what we've done all throughout history.
I mean, think about Hawaii.
Any European,
Think about Hawaii. But Hawaii was easier because they were less violent.
Yeah.
They were just less violent, and they're like, well, we could kind of see the pros of you being here and stuff like that.
You guys have bananas. We really.
You son of.
Yeah, like this island. If I was Indian, I'd try to make peace with them. Like, you know what, you can still do your thing, but
show up with riot shields.
If I'm gonna protect you and do some things, then I want to know and I want you to do back. And they just keep attacking them and killing them. I'm like, all right, screw you then.
Yeah, see, like
full on truth.
There's no incentive.
I just feel like in the 1850s, this is probably when they started trying to send things and protect them. There's so many philosophers and people with other mindsets that at that stage of time.
And the 1960s is when they're like, okay, just look at them. You know what I mean? Like in the late, the 1860s was big time, especially like the whole world, like India, like had just, I'd say relatively recently gotten out of a really bad relationship with Britain, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And so they didn't want to like kind of do that same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think if it was any other place instead of India, that might have been that way. And yeah, there's really no incentive to going in and just being like, all right, knock it off. Except that killings might stop. And
well, other than the fact that humans are naturally curious. Like, we want to know everything. And like the fact that we don't know much about this island kills me. It makes me want to even if we have to infiltrate and like
But there's also a part of
place. Like, I want to know.
National Geographic tried to go in there. Actually, let me see when that was. In 1974. Actually, that was the next one on the list. National Geographic led a crew to try to document and post about the tribe, and they got met with another volley of arrows. Of course, no one else got hurt except the lead film director got smacked in the thigh by an arrow. Oh. Yeah, it's not too rough. There's, like I said, there's only been one singular meeting where anybody hasn't been threatened or damaged. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But yeah, we have a few more dates, but I'm seeing the time. We can just cut it off right here and just pick up the next one. And then we can branch off into some more fun stuff with the general idea of this. All right, so we'll see you guys in the next segment.
Well, maybe you might see me. I don't even know if
I wasn't gonna be very disappointing after all that work.
And
Since you've been
we're back.
gone, right? That's what you're singing.
I can breathe
For the first time.
We're gonna copyright strike.
You guys are so...
Something new.
I don't know this song. I don't know who sings it.
I do what I want.
I'm glad you know it, dude.
That's all I got, really.
'Cause I will follow you the verge.
Although it hurts me so, I'll help you out when you get weary.
Yeah, I can't sing it though.
It is such a beautiful song.
I could tell.
And I will follow you the verge. Yeah, I don't know.
Great. See,
All right.
we have a.
We're back. Sorry. We got a little musical.
We could just cut that too.
No,
Because-
that's pretty good. Like I was gonna send that in to
The
like some
harmony-
famous
the
artists.
harmonizing.
sample that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to go in as a trio.
Like I was gonna
That,
send that.
just got me...
Like I thought I was gonna send that to Post Malone. I thought I'd be golden, but
No, if we sent something to Post Malone, we'd
Actually-
have to be like singing out of Magic Tape.
Post
Then
Malone
he'd
just-
reply for sure.
yeah.
Post Malone actually just DM'd me asking if I had another sample.
Another sample?
Yeah.
As in there was a first sample.
Yeah, I sent in.
Care to elaborate? No, I've had one and I sent it and he used it and he wanted another. That's it.
All right. Do you remember where we left off?
It's a pretty
Or-
simple
do, yeah.
situation.
Man, my throat's killing me. Okay, we have sponsor us. No, I don't get it. Thank you though. Yeah. So I was gonna say I said it before. In 1991, there was I'd call it an expedition, and they documented it. I never wrote it down. I don't know why. They documented it, and this was the Indian government just sent these guys like finally they're like, okay, we need to establish some sort of like truce or something, and that's what they try to do. But obviously, it's hard to establish a truce when you can't communicate with them.
Mhm.
But what they did was they knew that coconuts didn't grow naturally on the island, but they wash up from the Andaman Islands naturally, right? So they're basically a delicacy of sorts, right? So this expedition showed up with like 50 coconuts at least, probably hundreds to be honest. They had a few boats, and they were recording it the whole time. And I watched it, and you should go watch it too. It's really interesting. There will be naked people though, so be careful if you're.
Viewer discretion.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say.
It's advised.
Yeah. But yeah, they just like they try to say words. They were saying the local word O for like peace, or they're just trying to establish some sort of goodwill, right? And they're waving their hands up like it's like we don't have anything. And they were throwing coconuts in the water, letting the waves wash them up, and eventually. It took like a matter of minutes. Like I watched the whole video all the way through from the time they like get close from like the first person to spot. That's all right. The first person to like the first tribesman to spot them, to go back. Like they were watching them a little bit. Then they went back, got more people. Yeah, they got more people. They like come up and then they start like throwing these coconuts and like saying stuff, and like for some reason it was unlike any other encounter they've ever seen before. Because like they just like put their weapons down. And they just like even like little like kids were just like run up grabbing coconuts, smiling.
Coconuts, man.
They like went up and like touched them, like touched the expeditioners, you know what I mean, and everything like that. And there was no violence whatsoever. Eventually, they're just like one guy who must have been kind of like in charge was like, all right, that's enough coconuts, let's dip. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. And then they just left.
I'm
The
surprised
expedition was left.
they'd never done that again. It's like, all right, it just takes a lot of coconuts.
Yeah, well, people
We
have gone
bring
there with coconuts before. I wish I would have written down which one. People have gone there with coconuts before. Maybe it was in 2000. No, definitely not 2006. And it kind of worked to some extent. Like they throw the coconuts, the tribesmen would be like looking, pick up the coconuts, just keep looking at them. But then after a while, if like the coconut flow stopped, they'd be like, "Get out, get out." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was the last peaceful thing, that happened. Like I said, 2004. After that, when a helicopter tried to come in with aid after the tsunami, they fired at it. One guy fired at it. In 2006, two fishermen from the Andaman Islands were hunting crabs. Well, hunting is not the right word. Just kind of collecting them.
Yeah.
Crabbing.
Crabbing. They were crabbing. Allegedly, they were drunk. I heard something about crabs that is very interesting, but I'll talk about it after this.
Wait, who was drunk? The tribesman?
No, the fishermen. The tribesmen probably don't have any.
Where was he fishing?
They were fishing off the coast of the Andaman Islands.
Which is
You're
right
not
next to
you're
the...
not allowed to get too
boat
close.
fishing.
Yeah, just boat fishing.
Oh, okay.
Because they were crabbing, right?
I
They
was
need a
thinking
boat.
like beach.
Yeah.
Crabbing.
They must have been drunk because they washed too close to the island, and then they were shot
With arrows?
with arrows
From that far.
from that far.
It's nice.
Sheesh.
And then they just found them floating in their boat.
Like, I'm starting to like not like this tribe. Like, where do they get off, bro? Like,
low key.
they're far out in the water. That's not your
Yeah.
territory land. You can't just go sniping people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird too. Like, what if? I guess they just were able to like observe the behavior of the men. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how close they really got, but obviously within
their
bow
bow,
range,
it's not-
because they don't
gotta
have
be
long bows or anything. They have
Yeah.
very primitive stuff, minus the iron that they managed to collect, right? But yeah, they just got killed when the boat just drifted too close when they were crabbing. Somehow these guys slipped between the cracks of like the Indian government's patrol, and they just got too close and died. But then guess what I don't know if you read the paper or not. Guess when the most recent contact was?
I think I saw
2018.
this.
It was a big thing. It was a big thing. There's this guy he was a big missionary basically. He worked with an organization to go out, and he went on a lot of missions, and some were successful, some were less successful. But like as soon as he heard about, was that me? I'm sorry. As soon as he heard about
Call them Quest.
what?
Call them Quest.
Yeah. He heard about North Sentinel Island. It became like an obsession for him. Like it was crazy, right?
I
And
need
so-
to teach these people the way of God.
Yeah, and he like, he seemed really smart because I watched a video of how he like planned it. It took years and years of planning and learning and all this stuff, and finally he just like went out and did it. Of course, it was still illegal for him to do it. Like he didn't go through the Indian government because he knew they'd say no, and then if they monitored him trying to go again, like it would be way harder. So he just didn't go through them at all. Instead, he bribed like two different boats to go out there, like 2 crews of fishermen to go out there and take him out, and he did. And I can't remember exactly what happens the first instance they made contact, but basically they were like shot at.
Call that man Finn McMissile.
Yeah. And he went on-shore.
You guys get that reference?
Finn McMissile, yeah.
Yeah.
From Cars.
Yeah. But you know why?
3, 2,
2.
2.
But you
It
know
was
why?
in both, right? 2
Yeah.
and
He
3.
had like a cameo in the third one.
Oh, okay. Why?
Well, he hired a fishing boat to bring him out to those oil rigs. At the
Oh,
very
yeah,
beginning
he
of
did.
the movie.
didn't he? That's the very beginning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
You
that.
got that reference right off the crack. You are a god.
You're a G. But, yeah, he made it on shore the first time, established contact, but they started shooting at him. So he got back in his canoe and fled like a action movie scene as like air was like phew, phew, phew. And he just got back onto the boats, and then he's like, all right, we'll just try again next time. And the boat's like, no. So we have his diary. He wrote down in his diary stuff, and it's kind of sad. He's like, Lord, I don't want to die, but if this is what your will is, then this is sacrifice I'll make. And he just left the diary, and or maybe he kept it, but it was in his canoe or kayak or whatever. And he just went back, and the boats turned back.
They left him?
They left him. Either that, or they were just so far offshore that, and it became nighttime, and like they just had no track of him. But the next day, or whenever they found him again or saw him again, he was. And I don't want to be graphic, but they were dragging him. His body was intact, but he was definitely deceased. And then they buried him. And that man was just trying to spread the word.
I guess makes me hate those people.
Now, granted,
honestly.
they didn't know what the word. They couldn't understand anything he was doing. But I wish I remembered what he said. But apparently, we know what he was saying when he walked on. He's like had his hand up, and he oh, that's something. So I was probably loud. Someone shot at him with an arrow. The Bible that he was holding to his chest saved his life the first time. It hit his Bible, and then he ran and got in his kayak.
If that ain't a sign for God not to go back.
He used that as like a thing, like I got to go back, and then they did him dirty.
Oh, I see that as a sign to God to not go back.
Yeah, it's like,
I saved you.
You're
once,
welcome.
bro.
Now don't be dumb. All right.
Do this again.
Yeah, but that's all that we as like collectively truly like know and like can catalog on these guys. there are definitely like more crazy tribes, especially in like Papua New Guinea, that I've heard about. Have you heard of? I don't remember his first name, but the descendant of like the Rockefeller oil tycoon. There's a son in that family, and it might have been the direct son of J.D. Rockefeller. Thank you. And he went out on an expedition in Papua New Guinea because he was just so interested in it. Right? You're so rich, like the only joy you get is from like trailblazing, basically.
Yeah.
And he went out and they capsized on the river or something like that, and the rest of his crew left to go get help, and he's like, well, I'll just keep going this way and try to find the other guys that like went to the jungle or so, and they just never found him again. They suspected that there is another tribe. There's so many tribes that are like suspected to be cannibals. Some of them are, but some of them you can't really prove it. I don't know if this one was suspected or definitively cannibals. I think they were pretty definitively cannibals.
Sometimes it's just one guy that.
Yeah, it's just a
Eats a
weirdo,
man,
right?
and
Technically,
then-
us Americans,
It's not what
based
everyone
off
does.
based off a few of us, you know, we can call us
We
cannibals.
could be called cannibals.
Yeah, but
unfortunately.
but it's actually, this one's weird because it's suspected two things, right? And they're both conspiracies because we don't know. He might have just died to elements, right? But either he made it, he didn't know this tribe was even there, but either he made it and they killed him and ate him like right away, or you know they killed him or whatever, or he made it, established contact with him and joined him, because apparently, and I don't know this or not. I don't know if it's edited. I don't know if it's fabricated or what. But there's apparently a picture of him when another like documenting crew went out and like took pictures of a tribe. He's like in the background like hiding, and he just joined them. But there's so many crazy tribes. I know there's another one around Papua New Guinea. I can't remember what they're called, but they are dangerous. But they like as like a rite of passage for men, they grow their hair out really long, and they have to sleep with their necks on bricks out there. Even at night, their hair is like not like squished or down or anything like that. And then at the very when they after like 2 years or whatever, or so many months probably, when their hair grows out so much, they cut it all off, and they style it into a hat, and then they just wear hair hats. And there are people in this tribe that their like whole profession, aside from like hunting and stuff, the basics, is growing hair out to make as hats repeatedly for those who don't want to do it again after they did it the first time. So they just grow their hair out, style it, put like feathers in it and everything, and just wear them as hats all over the place, just for the men.
All right. I mean, you do you, man.
You do you. We got hoodies, they got hair hats.
I guess.
We did go through a weird fedora stage in the 90s, just saying.
Yeah, but fedoras are dope. That wasn't a mistake, bro.
I mean,
It's
the
a mistake that they're
1920s,
gone.
the 1920s fedoras were sick. Those were nice. 1950s even, those were nice. You get later on, you start seeing some people with fedoras that shouldn't be wearing fedoras.
You can make hats out of mycelium.
Lycelium, is that a mold?
It's a mushroom.
Mushroom?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm proud of myself for knowing that. That's pretty cool. But yeah, something that, because I told Jacob about this tribe a long time ago that I kind of wanted to like develop a bigger understanding about it. We were at work, and you said something that like I didn't even think about, but it could be like a pretty cool potential thing just to like rant on about for 15 minutes or so. And you said, do you remember? All right, when I was talking about it, I just said, yeah. So I said something about the sheer isolation and the fact that no one wants to contact them because they're so violent, right? And they have like very murderous tendencies when it comes to outsiders. And Jacob just out of nowhere, he's like, "Yeah, dude. Sometimes I like wonder about that with like Earth and like the universe and like how people just like maybe there is like extraterrestrial life that just knows about us, but they just purposely avoid us because we're so self-destructive." And I don't want to say anything about like the world or like the geo-economical climate or whatever, but just the fact that like it is pretty weird that like that's an entirely true possibility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess you can't really talk about you could talk about for 15 minutes, but I mean, what is there to say on it? I know that
A lot of bad things happen.
Yeah, I know that Stephen Hawking was like super worried about if aliens were out there and we weren't like the most advanced in the world, but I can't remember why he was so worried about it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Was he part of the project? Maybe it's probably before his time actually. When they sent they sent a plaque out on a shuttle that had like it was supposed to be the most like possible best way to communicate to any intelligent being because it used like mathematical arithmetics that they thought were like based off the laws of physics so that anything that sees it could possibly comprehend it. And a lot of time and effort went into that, you know, to the best possibility of establishing safe communication.
The weird thing is, like, and I this just popped in my head, like, oh, well, maybe they sent, like, we're here. But how do they know we're here is? Because we have such a small little pocket of even our galaxy that we understand our solar system well enough, and we can gauge pretty much, we can, like, pin where we are. But when you go to, like, the galaxy even, like, we don't have, like, a grid system to tell them, you know, where we are because their point of reference might not be what we refer to things as and stuff like that. Mathematically, I could see it working out a lot better, but like on the grand scheme of things, like you have no idea how far that thing's going to go before anyone.
And then you're shifting from a 2D plane to a 3D plane. Think about the galaxy. You have horizontal and vertical directions.
Yeah. You know how crazy it is to think, like, you know, like maybe not definitely in Star Wars, but like Star Trek is a big one where they have like this huge grid system of multiple galaxies. I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah.
Just like
there's sectors, right?
yeah, it's divided into sectors, and the sectors themselves might be I don't know if it's one galaxy, but they can go light speed, so probably multiple, right? But like, I believe it's been touched on at some point within that universe, whether it's the comics or not. I saw a video on it where like somebody in canon says, yeah, it's crazy to think that there's like planets that we've never even been to, but like they're cataloged and they're like within this grid that have like life on it, like intelligent life. But they don't even know that they're within a grid system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if there's like a wide, like say there's like an intergalactic federation kind of deal going on, right? And they just control so much that, like, you know, it's kind of like Rome, right? Like they possibly, yeah, sure, we control your village, but we don't even know you exist. You're just within our thing, and if you start to be a problem, then we'll figure it out and we'll do something, right? But until you're a problem, if you never are, then we'll never even know you're there. It's the same with this, you know, theoretical federation, right? Maybe they know we're there. Maybe we're like the North Sentinel Islanders, right? And we're just so aggressive and self-destructive that they're afraid to even like approach us, right? Or they just don't even know we exist. Like we're just like that small of an insignificant little speck in their grand scheme of whatever they got going on. That we're gridded. Like they know how to find us, but we don't even know we're gridded, so we don't even know a frame of reference to like locate them. Or it's wild. I'll keep you up at night. Not really.
I wish they would come and cure your cough.
Dude, I don't even know what it is at this point. I don't know. I might have like eaten something that just like poked my, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like scratched it up just a little too much. I don't know. I definitely got sick a few days ago, and had like the cold and everything, but it went away in like a day. But now every time I was telling you this, every time I go to sleep and I wake up, it's like it starts all over. I get so good, and it starts all over. But recently, it's just been pretty bad the whole time. I can't even sing the songs in my car, bro. That's what I do the whole time. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. I can't listen to music without singing along.
Mm-hmm. Or else it's a bad song. If you're not singing along, it's a bad song.
That's true.
It's my rule of thumb.
That's true. That's very, very true. But
there's some ballad songs that are almost like just talking rather than singing.
I don't like those ones too much.
That's
like
nice
I feel
just to
bad,
listen
but like
to.
George Strait, some of the ones that like are more stories than it is like a lyrical kind of thing. I enjoy them all, but I can't sing along to them. I don't like them too much. I just rather skip and get to like a bop.
You might have some people come after you for that.
Yeah,
disrespecting the king, but
I don't care.
Same with like
I'm
rap.
not a straight writer.
If he's got a problem with it, come to me. If they have a problem with it,
come on the pod. You can yell at us all you want.
Yeah, come on the pod,
Yeah.
dude. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I didn't say I never
mean,
thought they're bad.
Hell, if he
I
comes
just
on
think
the
there's
pod,
better songs in my opinion out there that I'd rather.
If he comes on the
listen
pod, I'd let him hit Isaiah.
If he comes on the pod, George Strait, Mr. Strait, you can beat me within an inch of death if you would be willing to come on the pod. And that's on camera.
That's crazy.
That's on camera. And we're going to post this online. It'll never be deleted. You can do that because I said I don't prefer your songs over others. I can't see you anymore. Actually, I don't know how it is. I probably could still, but it'd be harder probably. So there you go. Come on.
Come on on.
Come on. Or down. Nah, we can't take that. It's probably copyrighted by Price is Right, isn't it? Dude, I feel like we talk about this. Copyright is crazy.
I think we
copyrighted the color pink, like the base color pink.
What?
No, I think
And
we,
John Deere copyrighted that exact green. So if you just happen to use that green and post it, and they'd be like, "Hey, bro, that's ours." Like, I don't even know. I just use this in MS Paint.
Nah.
I don't
Yes.
think copyright's as bad as you think it is.
No, yes, 100%. John Deere like copyrighted that exact green. If you use it as a company, and it's been like relatively local. They've used it in their company, like on their sign. They've had to change it, and like Barbie copyrights the color pink. There's certain phrases like bands would copyright a certain phrase or something. I wish I remember. I watched a video on it a while ago. Yeah, I'm gonna look up craziest copyrights.
I've seen people win like copyrights just through in court through freedom of
Well, when
speech
it's a
acts.
company or you're trying to, and any situation where someone's making money off something, it's way harder.
John Deere has the green and yellow color scheme.
Oh yeah. So yeah, someone
and
tried to
the
someone tried
leaping deer symbol. So just basically their logo.
No, it's the red and it's the green and yellow as well. They're separate entities as a copyright. Because someone
because it's green yellow color scheme with the deer leaping symbol.
they won a copyright somewhere around here because that's when I was working.
Well, yeah, I think it's like if you have any like deer leaping.
No. I'm
a
saying
leaping
just
deer and then green and yellow.
This
color
company
scheme.
like Piqua or something, Piqua, New England, had it was just like the name of their company in yellow and then the background was the green, and they had to change it to like the hintest of shade darker green, and they're like, oh yeah, you're good. You know what I'm saying?
Like, that's
How
just
you feel
petty.
about this, sir? You think it's cap?
I think it's kind of cap
It's kind
and
of
petty if it's real.
that's also true.
How do you guys feel about patents? Because patents have a certain time frame, but over the years there's just been pushed patents like 190 years. Like, do you guys think patents should be brought down to like 20 years? Like, you have that item protected for 20 years. Because think about all the crazy thing. Like, think about if Harry Potter got released. Like, someday it will. The patent on Harry Potter will be released still. That universe could be developed by other literature authors. Because a patent's to protect something financially for a while, but it also kind of,
I think it's
disallows
fine.
something to be advanced.
See, Paris Hilton trademarked the phrase "That's hot" and successfully sued Hallmark for using that phrase on a greeting card. Like, that's just like a celebrity. But she was on TV. She made money from saying it. Technically speaking, that's what she claimed it. And they're like, "Yep, that checks out." And then Hallmark put it on the card. They're gonna make money on the card. So she said, "That's
Isaiah
mine."
and Hallmark, man.
Yeah,
Chill.
that was a year ago.
We have that on audio. You
Okay.
saying you like watching Hallmark movies, dude. How
Okay.
embarrassing is that?
Knock it off. I said
You knock
one.
it off. Stop
I
watching
said
those. That's pathetic, bro.
One was tolerable, and this is what I get. It's been a
This man
year.
literally describes the base format of a Hallmark movie, and he's like, "It was such a touching story, bro."
I did not say this.
You
We
did
got it
kind
on
of describe
audio,
how
bro.
Like, you described it, and I'm like, isn't this like every basic Hallmark
I
movie?
swear,
and you're like,
dude.
this one was bussin'. I'm like,
Yeah.
It's because the acting was
I
better.
rub my eyes, and I'm like, "Is that who I think it is?"
Yeah, see, like Reese's. Changing the subject, Reese's orange color.
How do I
You'll
change
never
the
see it on
subject
any
to?
other food wrapper ever. Like even like M&M's orange, different. Even oh so slightly because they copyrighted it. It's orange background color is a registered trademark.
so I
This
just looked
stuff
up
makes
the
me want to live on that.
Let's get
island.
ready to rumble as trademark, but that kind of makes sense.
I looked up the Barbie's pink one, and I think they did trademark the color pink, but I think it says for more than 100 categories of Barbie products. So I think you can't use any type of pink on like Barbie or doll products. That's from what I understand.
No, that doesn't make sense because that's the same company.
No, because other people can make like dolls or Barbie products. I think, right?
No, but they
Yeah.
can't do Barbie.
Right.
Like if it's like they trademark that pink and then Bratz dolls tries to make that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it says 100 categories apart. So maybe it's like if Barbie makes just a doll. That means other people's dolls, whoever makes them, can't use that color.
Yeah, here's
pink.
one. T-Mobile Magenta. That color's trademarked. And they cease and desisted multiple companies
That is
for
an
using it
ugly,
without their permission.
ugly color though.
Isn't that just like pink?
Magenta?
Yeah.
Bro, look at that. That's pretty appealing as a pink.
I don't know.
I
I hate.
It's kind of
T-Mobile's
aggressive, to be
color.
honest.
I think it's fine. It's
As a neon, it's very nice. The sound of Darth Vader's breathing is trademarked.
I would find so much.
The phrase "it's on like Donkey Kong" has been trademarked.
Really? By who?
Yeah.
By Donkey Kong.
Listen to this. I don't know why it says this. I don't know. I didn't live in the 90s, but okay. Listen to the little caption, okay? And this is from bestlifeonline.com, in case you want to trademark my phrasing. It came as no surprise that Donkey Kong is a Nintendo trademark. That said, even diehard fans of the gaming brand might be shocked to discover that the phrase, "it's on like Donkey Kong," popular among 90s TV characters and sorority girls getting ready to spar, is also trademarked by Nintendo. What is that
What?
sorority girls getting ready to spar thing? Is that like a reference to something maybe? I feel like that might be in like a movie or something going on that they're trying to reference.
I've definitely heard the phrase "it's on like Donkey
sorority
Kong."
girls getting ready to in spar. What?
It's just a fight. Like
Well, yeah, but like why fight?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like a famous movie where like two sorority girls. fought.
UPS Brown is trademarked, and it's called Pullman Brown.
Brown.
I would read the next one, but it's covered by an ad. Look, number 13, covered by an ad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe it was so.
Oh, the term
maybe it was
superhero is
so
trademarked.
copyrighted they couldn't write about it.
The term superhero is trademarked.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
Let me see it. Is
It's
it
co-owned by Marvel and DC, though. So, what superheroes do you hear of that aren't Marvel and DC? Exactly.
No, that one is
Thanks.
Shazam.
I
That's
think that's
DC.
DC.
That's a good question. I know I heard of like a comic that was outside of both of them, but they had to have said like mutant or gotten
What's
permission.
that new one? What's that new one?
Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Black Adam.
I think
Is
that's
that-
DC because that's like the Shazam deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I
think
think
it's
it's DC.
the D-
I
I think
can.
it's DC.
I can see DC in the logo. That
Kind of
red
looks like
DC.
Marvel to me.
His outfit looks exactly like Shazam's.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a Shazam. Just
Yeah,
Who did Deadpool?
that's Marvel because he's with the
That's-
X-Men.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah. I'm really scraping my mind
DC?
here. Captain
Black Adam is
Underpants,
DC.
probably.
Captain Underpants.
Captain Underpants is outside.
Yeah.
he's not a superhero.
Is he
he's
ever-
just a captain?
Yeah, let me see.
I think he's called a superhero in the books. Though.
Is Captain.
That was a clutch one right there.
There's no
Mr.
way.
Fly, the Fly guy.
If superhero is actually copyrighted, that is insane.
Is
kinda
Captain
pathetic.
Underpants called a superhero? It definitely is. Okay. Captain Underpants is an illustrated children's novel series by American author. The series revolves around the two fourth graders, George Beard and Harold Hutchins, living
Dude, that
in Piqua,
brings back
Ohio.
memories.
Did you know that?
What?
Captain Underpants.
Maybe it's only
The
popular
series
around
revolves
here.
around two fourth graders, George Beard and Harold Hutchins, living in Piqua, Ohio.
No,
That's crazy.
dude, my mind is blown right now. I
Yeah.
love those movies.
That's
Or books.
crazy.
There's books.
I
That's
mean, we
crazy.
live in
But think about that.
Massachusetts,
Maybe it's
but-
only popular around here.
That like is what my mind is blown about.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like maybe
if you
no
are
one else
watching-
understands what Captain.
That's
Underpants
wild. That's-
is in any
Can
other
we?
state.
That's 30 minutes from us. Right
If
here,
you
this exact
watch
spot.
this, or if you're watching
We
this
had
video,
no idea.
please go down and comment if you know the book's Captain Underpants. I thought that was like a nationwide, like
I figured
a
that was like
Harry
a
Potter
Metropolis
level,
thing.
like a little under Harry Potter level, but obviously like lower.
It could be.
skill.
I don't think
It
it's
could
that
be very
big.
popular.
I
'Cause
thought
I've
it
never-
was huge. I thought every kid read Captain
you
Underpants.
Guess when it was published? The first one.
1995.
You're pretty close. 1997. The stylisticness of it is like.
Well, you ever see those things
Dude,
on
I'm
TikTok
gonna
where it's like,
reread all those books. If they were
I'm
in
about to,
Piqua,
dude. I'm about to. That's crazy. And they're set. The story is set.
Dude, I
in
wish I was from
Ohio.
Piqua. I would cock off about that all the
there's
time.
probably gonna be things I'm gonna pick up on now, like little things about
Maybe.
Piqua.
Dude,
I would
he's-
brag so much.
It
like,
says he's an aptly named superhero from their homemade comic books.
then again, they may not like. He obviously can be
They can
depict
say
it
it.
as a
This is-
superhero, but they can't like say it. So maybe nowhere in the
Yeah.
books they
They
say.
say he drank extra strength superpower juice. So maybe he's just Captain Underpants who has superpowers.
Right.
And is not a superhero.
And they don't really call him.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we just made the discovery that Captain Underpants is from Pickle, Ohio, and
Bonkers.
minds are blown.
Oh yeah. Oh, I definitely looked up at that point. We were still rolling.
I mean, it was
we
that
missed
was-
like
that was-
5 seconds.
That was like a staple.
Captain
That's
Underpants
insane.
was a huge staple.
I thought
That
that
and
was like,
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah.
Did you know one of the kid actors in Diary of a Wimpy Kid? He killed his mom, and he planned on assassinating like Justin Trudeau or something like the Canadian Prime Minister.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the movies, he was the guy that in the first movie, I think that I'll do this real quick. Sorry, he was in the first book, right? Most of it was based around the play. Yeah, the play. You probably don't remember this. In the play, I think it was Wizard of Oz, right?
because Greg Heffley was Tree 3, I think.
He was a tree, yeah, and
I
the
know
whole
these
thing was
books, too.
about the tree. One of the trees tripped over a bush. There were so many kids that tried out, and they all had to get a role, right? So they started giving like inanimate object, and one of the kids was a bush. I don't remember his name, but he was a bush. One of the trees tripped over a bush, and so they had to give the trees arms. That's the plot line that goes over that kid, right? In the movie, they reflected that, and the kid that was the bush grew up, and he was in a few other things. He was in Riverdale as like a guest kind of thing, and then sadly he kind of like after 2019 he kind of just like dropped off from like movies and everything. He had a really promising future apparently, but he dropped off from movies. He was still living with his mother, and he was planning a bunch of stuff, and either she found out or he didn't want her to find out, and he killed her. And then he planned to assassinate Canada's prime minister
That's wild.
for whatever reason. So you don't see Captain Underpants actors doing that. Is there a movie? I'm about to
Unless I
watch it.
dreamt it, bro.
Dude, Dave, I'm the same way.
It might be
Yeah,
a fever dream.
'cause I
It might
see
be the Mandela effect.
It
or
was
the
that weird
Berenstain
real
Bears.
life editing too. where
Yeah,
it's, still
it's like
animated,
kind of
but it
it's
looks
kind
real.
of like anime-ish but real. I'm looking.
I
it
remember
up.
it in like when I watched the Garfield movie, the animated Garfield movie.
Yeah,
That movie is weird.
it never really blew
Yes,
up. Like, it was
it's
never
a perfect
mainstream.
superhero movie. That's what it says. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't dream
It's
it.
like
It's crazy.
photorealistic cartoon.
Yes,
I'm about to watch this,
dude, I have to watch this now.
I'm about to watch it and read all the books because these books are so.
It's
like,
on Hulu. Where
You're
we
joking.
going? You know what we're doing after this, boys?
Yes,
Tomorrow, bro.
Dude,
Tomorrow.
it got an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's pretty
That's
good.
legendary.
Oh my
That's
lord!
really good, dude. Rotten Tomatoes is strict. I wonder
Yeah.
what IMDb gave it.
6.2 out
This
of
is
10.
Crazy.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I mean, that's still like,
That's good.
so
That's good.
IMDb, I think, is harder than Rotten Tomatoes.
CBR.com says it's summer's greatest superhero film, and there's like at least 2 every summer.
like what's
2017.
87%.
How did I not
What's
hear
a good
about this
movie?
now? Dang, that's
I'll just look
wild.
up Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That's wild. Oh, Harry
Or it's going
Potter's
to say
gotta be pretty-
Hacksaw Ridge.
That's gonna be pretty high. That's not a super. You gotta compare it to like a superhero movie, like Spider-Man Into the Metaverse or something. Like that's like a.
No. That movie is actually really highly rated. I've never seen it, but
I haven't either.
It's highly rated.
I love Spider-Man, but I haven't gotten into it too much. But while we do that, I guess it's right now's a good time to kind of wrap this one up.
Yes, sir.
Hope you enjoyed. I don't know when this one's coming out.
The first Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone, not a bad movie to start. 81%. Captain Underpants got 87
Wow. It's got to be legit.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's crazy, dude.
Maybe there's just a huge gang of Captain Underpants lovers who went on and just like,
Yeah, all the critics on Rotten Tomatoes like
because this got a
"Low-key,
higher
grew up on this."
IMDb score. I got a 7.6. Was like so it's like a whole point
Gotcha.
higher.
Yeah.
Got you. I trust IMDb more than I trust Rotten Tomatoes. to be
Nope,
honest.
not after this. Not after this review.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
We'll
right.
have to watch-
That's
we'll
right.
have to watch the movie first.
Yeah.
That's insane though. There were a lot of
Yeah.
things that blew my mind this pod. The fact that it's from Bigwood. That's awesome.
That's
kinda
funny.
crazy.
Hopefully, I wish it,
I have
I'm
no idea.
hoping everyone
That
knows
and
those
what a
books.
Christmas Story is what we have. What was the Christmas?
Like, that's right up with, like, Armstrong being from
Walk. Yeah,
Like, those, same level, bro.
that is bonkers, dude.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, yeah. So we'll finish wrapping up. whatever's going on this particular week they're watching this, sorry we missed it, but I hope this one was a nice filler, a nice little replacement for it. And
Don't want to mess up your guys' routines.
yeah, if you guys feel pretty strongly about something, we already told you to comment about Captain Underpants if you remember that. If you think anything else was bonkers or anything like that, or if you have ideas for us for future topics and stuff like that, please comment anywhere: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Super appreciate it. It'd be awesome. And with that, I think we're all good to go. So see you guys later.
Bye.